All right, welcome. So, if you're gearing up for the PMI CPMI exam, you know you need a solid game plan. Well, that's exactly what we're going to build today. We're going to dive into a concept that's absolutely foundational, the AI project lifecycle. Think of this as your map for everything else.
Seriously, have you ever tried to tackle a huge project with no map? It's just chaos, right? You're going in circles, wasting time and money, and everyone's getting frustrated. That's the exact mess the AI project lifecycle helps you avoid. It's your roadmap, plain and simple, taking you from just a spark of an idea all the way to a real working AI system that actually delivers value. And for your exam, this isn't just another thing to memorize. It is the framework that holds everything else together. You gotta know this.
Okay, so to make this whole thing really click, let's start simple. We're going to use a really great metaphor from the source material. Let's talk about building a robot.
I mean, think about it. You wouldn't just grab a blowtorch and start welding random pieces of metal together, would you? No way. First, you'd have to dream up what this robot is actually supposed to do. That's your problem definition. Then you've got to gather all the parts, the circuits, the sensors. That's your data acquisition. The fun part, actually putting it all together, is the model development. But hold on, before you unveil your masterpiece, you've got to test it, right? Make sure it doesn't walk into a wall. That's evaluation. Then you can show it off. That's deployment. And you're not done. You have to keep an eye on it, make sure it keeps working right. That's monitoring and maintenance. See how that just makes sense? It's a totally logical flow.
Okay, so the robot analogy is awesome for getting the feel of it. But when it comes to the exam, you need to know the official technical definition. So let's shift gears and look at the exact wording you'll need to have down cold.
And there it is. Simple, to the point, and perfect for the exam. The AI project lifecycle is the structured stages involved in developing and deploying an AI solution. Now, that word structured is everything. It's the key. It's what makes this a professional process instead of just, a messy science project where you're just hoping for the best. So, what are these structured stages? Here they are: problem definition, data acquisition and preparation, model development and training, model evaluation, deployment, and finally, monitoring and maintenance. But here's the most important thing to get. This looks like a straight line, but it's not. You have to think of it more like a circle with a ton of feedback loops. For instance, you might get to the model evaluation stage and realize, whoa, this thing is not performing well. That discovery could send you all the way back to data preparation because maybe your data was the problem. That ability to loop back is absolutely essential for getting it right.
All right, theory is great, but let's make this real. We're going to walk through a classic example from the source material. I want you to imagine you're a project manager at a big bank, and your mission, build an AI system that can sniff out fraudulent credit card transactions.
So, how does our lifecycle map onto this? Well, first up, problem definition. You're not writing a single line of code here. Instead, you're sitting down with the bank's fraud experts, really digging into what fraud looks like. Then, data acquisition. Your team has to get their hands on millions, literally millions of transaction records and do it ethically. Next up, model development. This is where your data scientists start building and training the AI model to spot those tricky patterns. But then, and this is so important, you hit model evaluation. You have to test its accuracy on brand new data it's never seen before. Only if it passes that test with flying colors do you move to deployment and integrate it into the live banking system. And are you done? Nope. The final stage is monitoring, because guess what? The bad guys are always coming up with new tricks, so your model has to keep learning and adapting. It's a constant cycle. Okay, listen up, because this part is huge for your exam score. The test loves to throw in questions designed to trap you on this very topic. So let's go over the 3 most common traps so you can see them coming a mile away and just sidestep them. Trap number 1, people mix up the life cycle with a methodology, like Agile. Here's the difference. The life cycle is the what. It's the list of stages you have to go through. Agile is the how. It's the flexible, iterative way you tackle those stages. Don't mix them up. Trap number 2, thinking AI is all about model development. Wrong. The exam will grill you on the stages that come before you code, like problem definition, and the stages that come after, like monitoring. They're just as important. And the third trap, thinking the life cycle is a straight line. We've talked about this, but it's a big one. It's a cycle, remember? Getting a bad result in testing isn't a failure, it's a feedback loop, telling you to go back and fix something. That's how it's supposed to work.
All right, you've heard the theory, you've seen the example, you know the traps.
Now it's time to put what you've learned to the test. I'm going to ask you a few questions. After each one, I want you to literally pause this and say your answer out loud. It's the best way to make sure this stuff really sticks. You ready? Let's do it.
First question, nice and easy to start. In one single sentence, what is the AI project lifecycle? Go on, pause and give it a shot.
Okay, the answer you're looking for is something like, it's the structured end-to-end set of stages for developing, deploying, and maintaining an AI solution. The keywords you absolutely need in there are structured and end-to-end. All right, next one. Can you name at least 4 of the 6 stages in the life cycle? Go ahead and pause and see how many you can list.
So, any of these would work. Problem definition, data acquisition and preparation, model development, model evaluation, deployment, or monitoring and maintenance. Hopefully you got at least 4 of them.
Okay, time for a scenario. Your team has just finished training their brand new AI model. According to the life cycle, what is the immediate next thing you do? Pause and think about it. The answer is model evaluation. You have to test it. This is a non-negotiable step. You never, ever, ever go straight from training a model to deploying it in the real world without checking how it performs on data it's never seen before.
Okay, another scenario for you. A project manager is spending her week in meetings with stakeholders, trying to nail down the business goals for the project. What stage of the life cycle is she in? Pause and answer.
That is stage 1, right at the beginning, problem definition. And it's so important because literally every other part of the project depends on getting this stage right. All right, here comes the spot the trap question. Your coworker says, hey, our agile sprints are basically our AI lifecycle. Why is that statement a classic exam trap? Pause and explain why they're wrong.
Because that is the trap we just talked about. They're confusing the what with the how. The life cycle is what the stages are. Agile is how your team works through those stages. They are 2 different things.
Okay, last question for you. Your new model is deployed and running live. So the project's over, right? True or false? And if it's false, what comes next? Go ahead, pause one last time.
That is a big fat false. Deployment is never the end of the story in AI. The next and ongoing stage is monitoring and maintenance. You have to constantly watch it because the world changes, data changes, and your model can become less effective over time if you just leave it alone.
Fantastic job on that quiz, seriously. Now let's boil all of this down. If you walk away from this explainer remembering only 3 things for your exam, please make it these 3. Number 1, this is a complete plan. It's not just part of the process, it takes you from the very beginning, the business idea, all the way to a system that's up and running long term. Number 2, it is way more than just the coding part. The exam is going to hit you hard on this. Problem definition up front and monitoring at the end are just as vital as building the model itself. And number 3, it's a cycle, not a line. It's built for experimentation and getting feedback, so you're constantly learning and improving as you go.
And finally, here is your cheat sheet for your study notes. Seriously, pause here, take a screenshot, and use this to make some flashcards. It's got the definition, why this matters, the inputs and outputs, and those critical traps to watch out for. And never forget that memory hook. You build an AI robot with a plan, not just with a random pile of parts. Thanks so much for tuning in, and best of luck with your studies.